Hello guys, this is Brian here with an update video with some good news and some bad news. Let's start off with the good news. I went to see the hand specialist the week before last. He said everything's healing up good, the incisions look good. I just had to massage the incisions a couple times a day to break up the scar tissue. Other than that, doing good with that. He said I'll come back end of March and we'll go ahead and put you in the books for to do the left hand. Um, so gotta think about that. Do it now, do it then, or towards the end of the year. This is not urgent like my right hand was. So numbness does bother me, just a slight pain, um, but not as bad as my right hand was. He said, well, I would do, he would do it early March, but he will be out of town, I guess, for spring break, I guess. um, so doing good there. Um, went to the pain management doctor and got some bad news there. The first part, which is good, go ahead and have another steroid injection done, which I'm going to have done the day after tomorrow. But he did tell me that he is leaving his practice. He's part of Baylor Scott & White Health Texas Provider Network, and he did tell me that Baylor Scott & White is pushing out a lot of pain management doctors, spine doctors, orthopedics, and doctors who deliver babies. The weird things going on with Baylor Scott & White, I'm to the point I can't stand them anymore. He said he will try to let me know where he goes, but April 1st will be his last day. So I'm going to ask him on Wednesday if he knows where he's going yet. Or he said if he doesn't know by then, just call him towards the end of March and see. But I can always look it up on the Texas Medical Board because about law they have to list where their primary treating location is. So a lot of weird things going on with Baylor. He said Baylor Scott & White of Carrollton is going to stop delivering babies. He said, which that means they will go out of business. It's exactly what they did with Baylor of Garland. Last year they said they're going to start delivering babies, and guess what? They'll be out of business in 2 weeks. They're closing the doors. And he said that Baylor is building a brand new hospital at McKinney, so they don't, that's kind of the reason why they're going to shut down Garland, maybe. I don't know. Baylor, they have alienated a lot of people. Blue Cross Blue Shield HMO members, Blue Advantage, they don't take it. The only Baylor hospitals that do take is the main Baylor University Hospital out in Dallas, and the Baylor hospitals that got merged with Tenet. 3 or 4 hospitals there. That's the only ones that take Blue Cross, right? The Blue Advantage HMO, which on the individual market, that's it. There is no PPOs left anymore. And then I did look this up. According to the Dallas Morning News, that Baylor, on the 3 hospitals that were merged with Tenet, that the co-owned each other, Baylor wants to completely buy those 3 hospitals out. And the doctor did tell me that a lot of physicians are not happy with that, because once they go completely Baylor 100%, the physicians can own it. Because Baylor is a not-for-profit hospital system, so it can't be physician-owned. It's against the law. And he kind of thinks that's kind of maybe because the physicians really don't want that, and that's kind of really retaliated thing against the doctors. I mean, they're pushing a lot of doctors out. And I said, well, if worse comes to worse, you could join Texas Health Provider Network. Go with Presbyterian. They're a better hospital system. They gave Baylor a run for their money a little bit when they opened up a hospital here. So that's the bad news. If I can't find him, or if he doesn't take Blue Cross Blue Shield after he leaves his practice, because it's actually Baylor Scott and White, and I'm not going to tell you the name of the practice, but it is Baylor Scott and White. I have to find a new pain management doctor. Now, in the meantime, the day before, I went to the spine doctor and reviewed the results of my MRI, X-ray, and EMG I had done in November, which I already knew the results because I read them myself. The bulging disc looks a little bit better, so that is healing. However, the EMG says that the nerve in my neck has a lesion on it, which means kind of like a paper cut, basically. And the spine doctor says, well, it may never heal. If it does, it's slowly. He kind of recommended a spinal cord simulator, which I'll show you the picture of that in a second because they gave me a little booklet. That's kind of what we discussed back in November. Well, the spinal cord simulator, that's a little bit complicated in itself because it really depends on the surgeon. It also depends on the pain management doctor. Most of them will have a pain management doctor, because there's 2 procedures involved in that, will do a trial period. Then, if it does work, then the spine doctor will actually implant it. So I had to call the doctor's office up and tell him, yeah, you know, my pain management doctor that, well, they referred me to him to begin with, but said, you know, told, you know, they're going to be leaving. I don't know where he's going or anything like that. But good news, I am having a steroid injection done day after tomorrow. So maybe if I can ask him if he knows yet where he's going. And they both did tell me, yeah, I have to find a pain management doctor that does a spinal cord simulator for the cervical spine. Not all will do that. Most of them, or the majority of them, only does the lower back. So I had to look at that. But my spine doctor did tell me that, well, they have a pain management doctor in his practice, but it's really far. And I could see him, but the only problem with the pain management doctor in the practice, in the spine doctor's office, that he only does procedures out of Medical City, Frisco, which Blue Cross does not have a contracting anesthesiologist there. So I'm going to have to call them again tomorrow or sometime this week and ask them, is there a specific doctor that they use or group? Because Blue Cross Blue Shield, I did look at the list. There's actually a list, and I'm going to do a video about that. A lot of people don't know this, but the insurance company keeps a list of what services are in-network and out-of-network. You know, like they have an anesthesiologist group, pathologists, emergency room doctors. And that list is not 100% accurate. Because when I had my hand surgery, well, I looked at that list, but I called the doctor's office up, and the doctor said, well, I only use a specific group of anesthesiologists, and they are in-network, but it's just not on the list. And I did call Blue Cross, and they did confirm that the anesthesiologist group that they actually do use at the hospital was in network. So, you know, do your homework. So I'm going to have to call the payment. They're in the same building as the spine doctor. I'm going to have to call them up and get the name, because I don't want to do all that referral. See, I have to either call my primary care doctor or go to the primary care doctor and have them switch the name on the HMO referral or make a new one. And obviously, I don't want to do all that trouble if it turns out to be that new pain management doctor that the spine doctor has in his practice goes to a facility that there's no network anesthesiologist. I mean, the insurance company will pay the anesthesiologists in network benefits, but they still bound to bill you. See, you got to do your homework about that. And I already been through that. And luckily, I went through this with my spine that the anesthesiologist group was out of network, and I had to use a state, Texas Department of Insurance form to get the insurance company to do mediation with the provider network, and they finally got it all settled out. They had to pay a penny. But I would have if they didn't accept the request or the thing. So you got to do your homework. Just don't pick the doctor out of the blue and you know you got to have a procedure. You got to make sure where the practice are in network, the anesthesiologists that they use there in network. You know, unless you have a bucket load of money you didn't care about. So that's why I got to worry about finding a new pain management doctor if I can't continue to see my old one, or you know if he doesn't take the Blue Cross Blue Shield. Because once he leaves, because it's built under Baylor Scott and White Health Texas Provider Network, so once he leaves, it won't be built anything. It'll be built wherever he's under. So I don't know. He would have to have a new contract with Blue Cross to be in network. And there's certain, and I did look in my policy book. There's certain things. And I don't know if I really qualify for this, but there is certain things that once a provider leaves the network, that there's certain medical conditions that you can qualify for, or which I don't. Well, I'll take that back. It's either traumatic brain injury, certain cancer, if you're having a baby, or high-risk pregnancy, that you can continue care. There's a continue care clause in that. But of course, I don't have any of that, but I have to call Blue Cross and ask them, which I don't believe I will qualify for any kind of continuation of care, because my conditions are not life-threatening or anything like that, like a brain injury, organ transplant, or anything like that, thankfully. But there is a continuation of care clause for those type of situations. Probably not even waste my time to call them if you want to know the truth. More than I think about it. And I did call one pain management group out in Richardson. They were really nice. They did tell me, the way I understood it is you make an appointment with the pain management doctor, then they use one centralized doctor who actually specializes in the spinal cord stimulators, and that's who actually will do the implantation. So had to have another referral for that. 2 referrals, one for the new pain management doctor and one for the actual physician who actually does the implantation. If I want to go down that road, I'm not really on board with the idea. It kind of seems like this might be a sign hidden in disguise or something like that. Like one of those things, blessing in disguise. I mean, this could be like a sign in disguise. Don't do that, kind of, type of a thing. So I'm not really on board with it if it's going to be this damn complicated. Because the steroid injections do work, but the problem with that is they don't last forever. Only good 2 to 3 months, maybe 4 months at the very most, and there are side effects to steroid injections. Weight gain, obviously, for me, is bad for your bones. It really is. So it's really a band-aid. And the purpose of the spinal cord stimulator is it's supposed to disrupt the nerve signals that go up to your brain. And the spine doctor and the pain management doctor kind of said the same thing. It might be a good idea for my condition, since there's a nerve lesion on the nerve. But they say, if that's an option you want to consider, or if you just want to continue your steroid injections. And also, having something implanted kind of freaks me out. A foreign object. And I'll show you what it looks like, because they gave me a little booklet. Here's the actual size of it. Now, this is kind of complicated. They do a trial period first before they actually implant it. The trial one you wear outside your body, like they tape it to you, or it's on a little belt looking thing. Just depends. And they have the leads coming out of your back, basically. So what this actually looks like. Um, you see the little leads? Now, I don't know about you. That freaks me out. I don't want that hanging out of my back for 10 days. Yeah, that's what the little things are. I mean, that kind of freaks me out for 5 to 10 days. You know, once they actually implant it, you won't have anything hanging out of your back or anything like that. But the thing is, with this, in order for them to know it works, is you have to be in pain to have it done. So you really, you can't be really in much, you can't be on heavy duty pain medicine after the fact. I mean, obviously you will be for a couple of days after the actual procedure, like 2 or 3 days afterwards, obviously. That's why it says 5 to 10 days. But you can't, you have to quit all medication like that, because if you on medication and it alters you know, painkillers, the purpose of painkillers is to either to reduce the pain or dull the pain. Well, if you're on heavy duty pain medicine like Vicodin and whatever the case may be, for days on and after the procedure, they won't know if it works or not. So it's kind of like you can't have any steroid injections. You have to be almost off any pain medicine in order for it to see if it works. Now, if it works, you know, it gives you like a remote, and then you turn it on, I guess. Then your pain goes away, or gets reduced. So, like I said, that's kind of complicated on its own. You know, obviously they just say, well, we know we give you, you know, we will give you pain medicine, obviously, after the procedure, but you can't be on it for a prolonged period of time, because if you are, then we don't know if the machine works or not. So it's a double-edged sword. It's kind of, and that's the reason why they do a trial as well, see if it actually will work. Now, this one is a rechargeable spinal cord stimulator, which means you have to put a like a I seen it on the manufacturer's website. It's like a little wand-looking thing with a little circle. Actually, it looks like one of those things they use for pacemakers, because my grandma has one of those. I seen them use them at the doctor's office. And you just put that over your skin and charge it every couple of days. But I want to know how many hours you have to do that. Or do you have to do that overnight to charge it? So a lot of questions there. I don't know. It just freaks me out to have something foreign in your body like that. Now, I have an implant for my dental, a dental implant for one tooth, but that doesn't freak me out. But like a device that's live, that's what I'm trying to say. This thing will be this thing is live. You know. Now you can turn it off with a remote and things like that. So that's what kind of freaks me out. They say that can last up to 10 to 15 years. Well, what happens after that? Does the battery just eventually go dead? Yeah, I guess. It don't last forever. Now, the older ones, you did have to replace them every couple years, but now this one, 10 to 15, this one you can get an MRI under certain circumstances. The other kinds you can't. That's what the booklet says. So that you weigh that option too. I mean, what happens if you had an injury or something like that that has to have an MRI and you can't have one? You know. That's why they always ask you if you've had an imaging done, or do you have anything implanted or anything like that. Or what happens if, the device explodes or something? I know it's not going to happen, but what happens if it just falls apart in your body, or that leads gets eroded, corroded, or wherever the case. I know that won't happen, but those things go through your mind. So that just kind of spooky. How do we know that material that thing is made of don't cause cancer? You don't know. Maybe 30 or 40 years from now, all this material that we use to make that thing out of causes cancer. Or how do we know 10 to 20 or 50 years from now that it causes brain damage at a very slow rate that no one really knows? You never know. And I guess that is the risk that everybody takes in a medical situation. You never know. It's not. And also, I did read this on the internet. It could be a chance that you have it in for a while, for a couple of years, and somehow it don't work for you anymore. I mean, the machine works, but it's not relieving your pain later on down the road. That could be a possibility as well. What happens if the doctor don't install it right, or didn't insert the leads in the correct place? That happens. Doctors are human too; they're not computers. So I don't know. That's a lot to think about, and it just in my gut right now. It almost feels like maybe there's a sign that I shouldn't have this done. I gotta think about it. And of course, this is nothing to be rushed into, obviously. I mean, maybe sometime at the end of the year, give more thought, or we're going to next year. So nothing that has to be immediately done like my back surgery was, or anything like that. So, just take the time and think about it. Nothing to rush into. But like I said, it's kind of weird if you're going to think to have this done. I can't have a steroid injection done beforehand, and I got to be in law, and somewhat in pain to have it done for them to figure out if it works or not. So timing is critical in this, in that regards. So for instance, when I have a steroid injection done day after tomorrow, so therefore, if I need to have this done immediately, of course I wouldn't have a steroid injection done. But if I had to have one, I would have to wait maybe 4 or 5 months down the road to have this done, to figure out if it works or not. So, if you have any questions, comments, please post them below. Talk to y'all later.